Do y'all see my face? Look, the episode just went off, and I would usually record my video the next day. But girl, we got to talk about this now, okay? I am here with, PM skin routine, hair in a bun, robe on, glasses off, ready to go to bed. And after watching this episode, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Oh, God. Y'all, let's jump into this episode. Y'all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. But we just got to jump into this episode, honey, because we got a lot to talk about. Okay? Let's go. So this is season 12, episode 3. So episode picks up with Paige and Chris' wedding. So last week we saw her starting to walk down the aisle and him kind of mumbling oh shit under his breath. And we kind of not knowing what that meant. I figured it was going to be a good thing because that's what Married at First Sight does all the time. They make us seem like things are going to be horrible. And then when you see them play out, it is not so much. So when he says it, and then when he sees her, he actually says that he thinks she is beautiful as she's walking down with her father and her stepfather. So I was like, great, she is beautiful. He can see that. We're all good so far, right? So as his ex-curl pastor friend is telling him all the things that Paige's friends and family has said about her, he's just not making eye contact with her. He's just continuing to look away. I understand it can be awkward, but he's talking about her. Look at her, not him. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then, of course, the things that they had to say about Chris really revolved around money and material things, which, are we shocked? No. This man doesn't want somebody, for him just for his money, but that's all he seems to be able to talk about. Make it make sense, because right now it ain't making sense. But he brought his vows. Vows was A1. I got to give him to there. And then her vows were amazing as well. And he did ask her if he could kiss her, which I was like, oh, that's cute, because at least you're, getting permission. And he asked where he could kiss, cheek, forehead, lips, what's good. And she was like, it's okay to kiss me on the lips. So they did. Now, things pretty much go downhill very quickly from there because we see them alone, and they're alone drinking champagne as everybody else, and they start to talk to get to know each other a little bit more. So she shares, ooh, the necklace you gave to me, because I actually have a tattoo of an infinity symbol, so look great, it's like we're in sync and stuff. And then he asks how many tattoos she has, she asks how many he has, and he says he just has one. So she's like, ooh, let me see. So he shows it to her, and she's like, that looks a little bit fresh. And he's like, yeah, it's only like a week or so old. Okay. And then he shares that he and his ex got each other's names tattooed on them. So basically the tattoo that he got was a cover up of that person's name. All right. So that's where we are with the first thing. And then she talks about her having a dog. He has to then bring up that his ex had a dog as well. And then he has to let her know that he was just engaged a few months ago. I'm like, you have not known her for probably 30 minutes, and you dropped 3 bombs on her pretty quickly, girl. I wanted to just be like, Paige, you in danger, girl. Run. Run far away from this narcissist, because I can see it a mile away. Oh, I hate this for her. I hate it. Do not sign those papers. It's really what I wanted to tell her through that scream. Just because you have a ceremony doesn't mean you're technically married. You have not signed the papers, and I wanted to say, don't do it. Anyway, after that, we see Haley and Jacob get married. Honestly, I forgot about them just because they're not really memorable. But if you guys happen to forgot as well who they are, she's basically the young girl. he is the old dude who loves the 80s. So the one with the 10-year difference. Of course, I'll put a picture up here so y'all can remember them. They show Jacob eating with his groomsmen, and it's very awkward. They're just sitting there in silence, really not with much to say. And he says the only deal breaker would be if she basically didn't like his fur babies, that he's not giving up his dogs for anybody. So we know he doesn't have to worry about that because she actually has a dog. So whatever. But this is going to sound really awful. But he is just not good looking. Like, he is just not easy on the eyes. And that just makes things so much harder. Not only are you older than her, which is probably going to be a hurdle for you guys, but if you want to be older than me, at least be, real cute, that I can overlook the age difference because you so fine, But that ain't the case for poor Haley. So, I mean, she got to work with what she got. But we do see her, of course, walking down the aisle. And I swear, the dress that she picked out, her hairstyle, her makeup, she's young and she picked everything to make her look older, which he's older, 10 years older than her. So I'm like, hey, maybe it all works out that if she's a little bit more old-fashioned in her dress and her ways, maybe that brings her up to his age. I don't know, but I was like, I wish you would have done just everything differently to actually look like you're, what is she, 28? To look like you're 28 and not look like you on the verge of, 42 at this point. But okay, and then when she was walking, I saw that she had black shoes on with her white dress. I was like, Haley, girl. Haley, come on. But you can see as the officiant is like telling her things that his friends and family is saying about him, about how much he loves the 80s. Her face is just blank, like, I don't know nothing about the 80s. I don't know none of these people you talking about. Why the hell were we matched? I'm not figuring it out here. So it was funny. They are just such a mismatched couple. Their kiss was awkward. Looking at them talking alone was just awkward. I don't even have no notes on it. It just wasn't even interesting to them. So we see Paige and Chris together with their family, and his dad mentions her shape, about how she looks amazing. And I'm like, sir, that is gross. Can we stop being inappropriate? You've already mentioned something before about if she was ugly. Now you're like bragging on the shape of your new daughter-in-law. Like, cringe worthy. Paige says she does not feel any chemistry from him yet, and he's avoiding eye contact, which again, I noticed at the ceremony that he was doing the same thing. The pictures we see with Haley and Jacob are totally uncomfortable. He says that she's beautiful and hopes that they can have chemistry. She acts like she ain't feeling him one bit. So this definitely reminds me of the Jamie and Doug from season 1, that of like, he's like, oh my God, I got so lucky. And she's like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Okay, so we see all the couples have their first dance, snooze fest. Haley talks about how much she loves to travel, and Jacob shares that he just got a passport. And basically, she begins to lose interest by the second of talking to him. Paige and Chris eat in silence, which was a little bit awkward when we first saw them. And then she asks how he got to Atlanta. So we have to then hear the story again about him being homeless, going to school, coming to Atlanta, getting a 6-figure job, which again still does not add up to me, but I'm just going to let that go at this point. And of course, he ends with telling her, once I came here, my first check was like $12,000. And I'm like, here we are again talking about money. It's like, you have the perfect opportunity to be with someone who knows nothing about your financial status, but yet you continue to bring it up, although you say you don't want somebody that's with you just for your money, but you keep talking about your money as if it's the only asset that you have of why a woman would need to be with you. Again, make it make sense, because right now I just don't get it. And she's just like unimpressed because Paige got jobs and Paige is working. She got her own money. She's just, we're not impressed. This money is your entire identity, and you expect other people to care as much as you care, and we really don't. Point blank in the period. He basically begins to ask her this round robin of very awkward and uncomfortable questions. So she asks about the engagement and why things didn't work. And he basically says because they didn't trust each other. And then he mentions that he does not have a big ego. Are we watching the same thing? Are we looking at the same man that they showed us thus far? Because all I see is ego and narcissism. That is all that I see coming from him. So I'm like, oh, okay. Then he asks if she's a virgin. She's like, no. Then he asks if she has a high sex drive. Then he shares that he has abstained from masturbation for the past few days so that he could have a clear mind. And then if that wasn't enough, he then asks her if she's on any type of contraception. Y'all, get this man off of my TV. And from what we have already learned of him just in social media and at the end of this episode, you want to now worry about contraception? Oh, okay. Whatever. If I was Paige, I would have legit got up from that table, taken that mic off. I would have told those cameramen and those producers, we ain't doing this. This is not what y'all about to set me up with. Because these were so many major red flags going off that you don't even need to waste your time with this man. Not saying that he is a completely horrible dude, but he clearly needs to work on himself before he even contemplates sharing his life with someone else. That's all I got to say. And then we see his dad stand up in his terrible suit to give a toast, and I start to get nervous because I'm like, I'm sure he's gonna say something inappropriate, and he does, because he says he's ready for Chris the Third and a little crystal. Whatever. All the couples dance, toss bouquets, toss garters, eat cake, the usual wedding stuff. Vincent talks to Brianna's father and says that he'll be a great son-in-law and spouse to her. Y'all, Brianna's daddy teeth. Lord forgive me, I'm still a work in progress. Okay, let's just keep going. But he says he supports them and that Vincent can basically come to him for anything that he needs. She talks to her friend and they have a real good little girlfriend moment of, talking, her, seeing where Brianna is at and how she feels about her new husband, asking if she's gonna, take his last name later, right away. And she's like, maybe sooner than later. So they're really feeling each other out so far from what we can see. We see Haley talk with Jacob friends and his brother, and then Jacob talks to Haley's brother, and all Jacob can talk about is this house, this sauna, this beach, and this pool. He tells it to Haley, he tells it to the brother, and he tells it to the mom. Like, that is his identity. This house, this gym, the beach, the pool, and the jacuzzi. And the sauna. Let's not forget the sauna. That's all he's talking about. Oh, God, he is just so boring. And she just talks about her trips on and on and on to her friends. Again, boring, both of them. I am really trying not to fast forward through their scenes, but my God. Virginia talks to who's she married to? Eric, I think. Virginia talks to his friends because she's, you remember, the party girl. He's the pilot, and his friends basically tell her straight up, all these partying, concerts, going out, that ain't our boy Eric. He is not down for that. So I am curious of how this is going to play out because they are just so polar opposites in that sense. And that can be a big deal and a big part of somebody's personality, whether they're like a real extrovert or introvert, and trying to get somebody to kind of sway either way can be a hard task. So again, another train wreck. We see Paige. My dog is over here. We see Paige talking to Chris' family, and again, his dad keeps mentioning how beautiful she is. And I honestly just let out the deepest sigh because I just can't. Like, yes, she is beautiful, but at what point does this become awkward and inappropriate for you to literally be lusting after your daughter-in-law? Like, it is now beginning to be borderline creepy as he looks at her. He's looking at her with like these sexy eyes and telling her she's beautiful, and he's licking his lips. And I am just beginning to be uncomfortable for Paige. And I am just, y'all, this is this is terrible. He acts like he wants to be her husband and not that be his daughter-in-law. It is just so creepy and awkward to me. But thank God his mom is there. She asks, what advice they would give her. His mom is just like, don't go to bed angry at each other, or don't spend like weeks or days angry at each other. Wait for the babies, get to know each other. And then, of course, here comes Chris's dad. Basically, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. And we see that because his dad is like, he works a lot, and when he comes home, he wants to relax and be intimate. He's basically talking about don't withhold sex from his husband, from his son, is basically what he's saying. Inappropriate. That is not your business. That is not your business. This is your son's wife. What they do in their home is their business. And he's just like, you get what I'm saying? And the mom is like, I can't believe this is what we doing. This is what we doing. So now we see exactly why Chris acts the way he does. And then we see Paige, friends. They are actually talking to Chris and grilling him a bit. And things now get a little bit more interesting with Chris and Paige. So he shares with her friends that he was just engaged 3 months ago. And then tells them, so of course they're like, huh? Excuse me? And you think you're ready to get married? And he's like, man, yeah, it took me a minute to get over that. It took you a minute to get over it. It's been 3 months. 1, 2, 3 months. That's not a minute for you to get over that, to jump into marrying a stranger. Okay. He then says he's basically used to women being the opposite of Paige, and her friends basically give the look I would give if somebody said that about my friend. Like, again, excuse me, sir, what do you mean? So he talks about how, in terms of, being the trophy wife per se, of basically just attracting, I guess, these really pretty women that have really nothing going on for themselves other than the looks. And Paige has the looks, the body, the career, the schooling, education, the knowledge. Like, she's a full package. He's just not used to that. So, again, he then tells her friends that Paige is probably what he needs, but maybe not necessarily what he wants. Record scratch. How ballsy of you, basically, to say this to her friends. What? Oh my gosh, this just keeps getting worse and worse. Then he says, he actually comes out when he's like doing a one-on-one confessional of he's not 100% attracted to her. Paige is about a 9. You are about a 4.5 at best. And I give you a 4.5 if you truly have the amount of money you're pretending like you do have. If you don't, I can drop you down to a 2. Not happening. What? He gets on my nerves, y'all. I was shaking my head this entire scene. He gets on my nerves. The experts cannot tell me they did not pick him for ratings. And unfortunately, they've entered Paige into this nonsense, and she's going to get hurt because they want to have high ratings for TV. Because he should have never been picked for this show. Never. But here we are talking about him, and that's what the show wants. And they did not even factor in Paige being hurt in this whole situation. I'm completely disgusted by this whole situation. But basically he's happy because she looks good. She got a fat ass with an AZZ. Oh God, I can't stand him, child. Brianna friends are literally ganging around Vince, and he was able to keep his cool and answer their questions. Claire friends then say that, she's very physical, and they're asking Ryan how they feel about that. And Ryan's like, that'll be between us. Like, I don't need to share that with y'all. So I'm like, there you go. Virginia says, that she's just being real handsy, and she thinks that he is too. Like, girl, yeah, you being handsy, but you're not reading the room, because you can see he's a bit uncomfortable, and this is outside of his element. So keep your hands to yourself just a little bit, okay? Chris says he hasn't decided yet if he wants to have sex with Paige tonight, as if the decision is solely up to him. Y'all, this dude kills me. Like, oh my God. And then Paige is, of course, she catches up with her friends, and thankfully, you know, they're able to tell her, kind of express some of their concerns. And friend that cracked me up last week with the locks, Paige, you need to keep her around. She is your real friend, and she is spitting facts to you. You need to listen to her. She sees right through Chris's BS, and you need to listen to her, girl. That is your real friend. Basically, after that, the episode kind of wraps up. Everybody's, you know, dancing, blowing bubbles, got streamers, got balloons. All of them are starting to walk out. And basically, you just see all of the couples entering into their suites, and everybody's getting out of their wedding attire and changing into something a little bit more comfortable. Some of the couples love it. You can see the chemistry coming. Some of them are just a little bit more awkward. And I'm sure we'll just see more of that coming next week. But oh my gosh, y'all, this episode was just, it was a lot. And mainly because of Chris being an asshole completely. Like, at this point, I don't even think there's anything he can do for him to change my thoughts and feelings about him. He's just a complete jerk. And I hate that Paige is going to have to go on this ride with him. We see a little bit of the clips at the end going forward of them being on their honeymoon. We see some arguments maybe starting to brew up with some of the couples. We see that Chris actually then shares that he has a baby on the way, and how Paige reacts to that, and how some of the other couples are reacting to that, and he gets a little heated and worked up. And y'all, it's going to be a train wreck. This episode, this season is going to be a train wreck. And I honestly don't know how I feel about it, because while it is a show and is entertaining for us, it is still a legally binding contract with these people really getting married. And for them to just set Paige up like that is just, I hate it. But y'all, I'm sorry I had to get on here looking like this, but I was like, if I don't get on here right now while my emotions and everything is all in it, I'm not going to be feeling like this tomorrow. So I got it done tonight. Y'all know the drill. Let's talk about it below. How did y'all feel about this episode? I mean, I don't even think there's much else to say. Give me your thoughts below. Let's talk about it, and I will catch y'all in the next video. I'm going to try to calm my nerves down and go to bed. Peace.